Oh, man. It is so good to see you, Alan. This must be an exciting time for you. Tell me, does it ever get old?
Sorry, does what get old?
Publishing a new book. Are you okay there, my friend? You look like you've been cooped up in the writer's room for a few too many years.
This is exactly how I feel.
You know, I've waited so long to get my hands on the sequel to Departure. You left us on quite the cliffhanger. We've all been dying to know what "it's not a lake, it's an ocean" really means.
You and me both.
Well, our wait is over. Your new book, Initiation, hits the shelves tomorrow.
What?
That's exactly what every reader will be asking. This book is mind-bending. It's so cerebral. I mean, how would you describe it? An auto-fictional thought experiment? A horror story? A postmodern detective story?
Wait. This isn't right. I haven't written anything.
He's so humble.
Okay, you got me. Good prank, very funny. But yeah, I sad to say, I've not written this. I'd remember if I'd written a book, right?
Or maybe it was written by your evil double.
Hello there, and welcome to episode 69 of the video game podcast, PlayStation Pals. And yes, we have a horny episode for you today, as we have Cloud Strife fighting 2B, so everyone wins. And I am your host, Nick, and I'm joined by the Slippy to my Falco, John. John, did you see the controversy over the weekend?
Which one? There's always so many. So many to choose from.
Did you see the one involving Mortal Kombat 1?
No, I did not.
Mortal Kombat 1, which is a $70 game, is currently charging $10 for an item. A fatality.
One fatality?
One fatality. If you want a Halloween-themed fatality, it'll cost you in-game currency equivalent to $10.
Who was this fatality for?
It goes with everyone.
That makes it almost worse. I mean, I guess, quote unquote, more bang for your buck. But like, at what point then? So what do you do? Like throw a pumpkin at somebody's head and they explode into smaller pumpkins?
Yeah, you put a pumpkin on their head and you kick them so hard their head flies off into a door and rings like knocks on the door, and then their head is just like in the.
And then somebody answers the door and says, "You're a fucking sucker for buying this." That's
got you good, bitch.
That's dumb. But I'm not surprised. I'm not shocked at this point. We're pretty far along in this thing we call video games and have been buying them for a while. And so until you fools stop buying this shit, companies are going to keep making them. So.
Sure. I think it's always it's like them feeling out like what the user base will tolerate.
Yeah.
So this will be the worst that it will probably be, and then going forward it'll be a little more bang for your buck. But probably
that's such sucky such a sucky way to do it though. And I get it. That's how businesses operate. They test waters to see what the market will tolerate. But everybody out there, hold fast, all right? We don't need this stuff. And, as Nick and I were kind of talking right before the show, there's some Call of Duty 3 controversy that, we might discuss later in the show if it blows up or something like that. Not this show, maybe, for a future week, but, where they're basically charging, where there's no platinum trophy for Call of Duty 3, and it's effectively just a DLC list.
Yeah, it's an add-on to Modern Warfare 2.
Yeah. And you people, you're going to go buy it, and they're going to do it again. They're testing it. They're seeing what they can get away with. So, Ed Boon, you're still cool in my book, but nah, cut that out.
Yeah, just obviously, again, with any of these things, vote with your wallet. Just don't buy it.
Yep.
Don't buy it. If you don't like it, don't spend your money on it. But sucks.
Gamers are good at exercising that willpower, for sure. So.
All right, so we have a really big show for you today, so we're going to move into how it works, and this is how the show works. John and I both bring up to 3 things to talk about. It can be a video game we're playing, a news item, a topic that we feel like bringing. It can be an email to PlayStationPalsPod@gmail.com, a Twitter DM at PSPalsPod, or a comment on our YouTube page at PlayStation Pals. Any of those things, we will bring it. And, of course, We have 4 things for you today, and of course, the first thing is returning, Spider-Man 2. So, John, let's get an update as to where we're both at, and let's continue to discuss the big game of the month.
Yeah, I'm super excited. So, before we get into the game, Nick, I do want to kind of, explain why we're a little bit late this week with the episode, and it's totally Nick's fault. He just doesn't know how to keep a schedule. I'm sorry, everybody.
Yep.
No, over the weekend, or actually it was right before the weekend. Why are you laughing already? Jeez. So, audience members out there, feel free to laugh as well. This is a serious story, but there's funny elements to it. So, I was going to get a follow up on my kidney stone that I had last month, which was also a super duper fun time, and went to the urologist's office. And while I was there, I figured, I got 3 kids. I don't need any more of those things. Like, let's discuss, vasectomy, right? Let's talk about that, because I know that's something that people need to get done. And so we're talking about it, doing the things you need to do. I'll let your guys' imaginations, paint a pretty picture for you. Yes, my pants were around my ankles, maybe my knees. It's hard to tell, but after a little bit of time, figuring everything out, felt a little lightheaded. Felt a little, this is not my comfort zone, I guess. I don't know if it was doctor was, tickling me in a certain way or what was happening. But next thing I know, I feel lightheaded, and I fell backwards hard, where I passed out entirely. In this tiny little doctor's office, woke up on the floor with my doctor basically going, "You're in the office. You're in the doctor's office." And I'm like, "What? What?" And then I turned over, threw up, very concussed,
Jesus.
And basically got my ass ambulance rided to the hospital for the second time in a month. So I'm on a really good hot streak right now. But went through the whole rigmarole of making sure that I didn't break my neck. Quite literally, I had a neck brace on, making sure that my mental capacity was still there. Apparently, I asked my wife what time it was 8 times in 3 minutes. And the phone calls and information she was receiving was basically, "Hey, John fell and hit his head and neck really hard. He doesn't know where he is. Okay, bye." And so she's freaking out. Needless to say, we don't need to get into more specifics than that, but I was out for the count for a couple days. But to bring this full circle, there's a little bit of silver lining here, is what this allowed me to do, as I'm sure
I think this was your plan all along.
Yeah. I'm having to ratchet up my levels of commitment to be able to play video games. But because this was such a severe thing, and everybody was like, Nick, I'm sure you've gotten sick and injured and things in the past, and you're kind of not enough to get yourself out of scenarios, right? Where your girlfriend might be like, "Hey, I need you to do the dishes." I'm like, "Fine." This was one of those where people were mad at me for moving. They're like, "Sit your ass down. I'm not going through this again." So your boy got to play all of Spider-Man. It's done. I got 4 little trophies left to just kind of clean that all up, but 100% of all the areas, 100% of the story, got all my suits, got all my gadgets, my abilities, and had myself a grand old time with this game. I don't know, Nick, if you kind of want to lead this in any specific way, or if you want me to just start gushing, but
No. Yeah, and I'll just sit there. I also completed it since we last recorded it, and I got the platinum. A lot of people are platinum in this game, John. I don't know if you saw.
It's a Sony first-party game.
Yeah,
if you don't platinum it, you're not doing it right.
I haven't checked. A few days ago, it was at 12% platinum, with 38% beating it, which is pretty outstanding for video games.
Especially
if you ever
for the
look.
first, 5 days?
Right. Yeah. So it has only been out for just about 2 weeks. And then I also got an email from PlayStation saying I'm better than 95% of players. So that's kind of cool. I'm awesome like that.
Better. As Dr. Evil would say, better.
So again, John and I are full of spoilerly knowledge. We're not going to discuss any spoilers here, but I think our plan will be to give it a bonus episode. And
yeah, I would say that's probably a next week item.
Yeah, so we can just spend a half hour or more just kind of discussing specific plot beats and where we think the series will go from here.
Yep.
But all right, back to what you were talking about, John. Where do you want to start?
Well, it's hard. It's hard because first, I very rarely play games like this, so I basically saw the entire thing in the last 3 days. So trying to pick and choose, different things is going to be hard, especially if we're trying to avoid spoilers. But I'll just start with some high level thoughts. I think that this continues Sony's dominance in the industry and what they do best, which is single-player, narrative-driven games. And this is probably the greatest example of a marriage between narrative and gameplay to date that I can really think of. And that's not to say that it does both of those things better than anything else out there. I think Last of Us's narrative is probably a little bit stronger. I think the total package of God of War narrative and gameplay is probably a little bit stronger. But I'll tell you what, the gameplay is probably unmatched in at least Sony first party, if not, honestly, Nick, all of video games. If you're looking for that specific thing, if you're looking for a fast-paced character action game, there is nothing more fun, at least on a traversal standpoint, than just swinging around New York City as Spider-Man.
Yep.
And you combine that with the abilities that he has, the charm that he has. He's just a funny, happy-go-lucky kind of kid. And with the emotional resonance that this story goes to, with both, coming-of-age stories with Miles, as you would come to expect, Peter battling with some of his later, more seasoned Spider-Man demons, things in the past that he needs to figure out. It's just an amazing package, top to bottom. And, just high level before I just start talking for the next 5 minutes, it's probably my game of the year as of right now. It's that quite.
Yeah,
that makes no sense. Sorry, my brain might be a little, foggy still, but it's that good.
Yeah, and none of this is surprising. I don't think any of us going into this game, again, it's a sequel to a game that we loved very much by a studio that's very well respected. That is, we talked about bugs last week. That's kind of been the side talk to this. So the game is not perfect by any means, but it will be. But the bones there are the bones there are perfect. Like everything we mentioned last week, the traversal, the combat. Like, again, it's an extension of that Arkham Knight. This is the new Arkham Knight trilogy, basically. Mm-hmm. And there's nothing they do wrong here from any perspective.
No, it's, polish is a word that I think of when I think of this game. Just it's what Sony does, man. And it's just another example of why I have, hitched my horse to the Sony wagon, because I have complete confidence they don't miss, with rare exception. And even, you can kind of separate, Insomniac, Naughty Dog, so those don't miss. You might get a Pixel Opus RIP, miss or something like that. But it just solidified that even further, that they are the best of the business of what they do. It additionally kind of made me realize that, a lot of people give Sony some flack for having their first-party output be a lot of the same type of titles, which I do agree with on paper, right? God of War is a third-person action-adventure game. Last of Us is a third-person action-adventure game. Infamous is a third-person action-adventure game. Spider-Man, all of it is. But I don't know if you agree, Nick. The feelings and just experiences that I have playing those games are all so vastly different still. Like, that's something that I kind of really took away playing Spider-Man, is that, like, man, I feel like a kid again playing games. I am just trying to just go through this world. Everything is fun. Everything is engaging. Everything is something I want to do, to the point where there was not a moment from the very first fight with Sandman until I rolled credits that I was like kind of in that zone of like, I don't really feel like it right now. Like, even something like Cyberpunk, which I'm very much enjoying, and I'm going to go bounce back to that afterwards. It's like there are certain days where I'm just like, I don't really feel like it right now.
Right.
And this and Spider-Man is just, it's a game. And I talked to my friend Brian, who lives out in Colorado, and we play Rocket League together, and he has a really hard time finding anything else to play. He just doesn't really like video games. He likes Rocket League enough to literally buy a PlayStation, but I can never, I recommended him Last of Us and Hades and all this other stuff, and I'm like, dude, Spider-Man is the game. Like, that's the game that if you just want to have fun and enjoy story, it's very friendly to play. It's very... I love it for my son for the reason that you can bump it on the easiest difficulty and you can't even die, so it alleviates that for him. It's just, it's really, 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 really awesome. And what I will say, just to kind of talk about the other side a little bit, is you mentioned the bugs. I was kind of taken aback by the amount of bugs I experienced in this game. And I know I said earlier that this game is polished, right? It's polished in a different way. And as Nick said, it will get these bugs fixed. But I would say there was probably 5 or 6 times I had to just exit out and just reload, which wasn't that big of a deal because the quick save functionality is so good and the fast loading is so good that it wasn't that hard or that big of an issue. But like, there's also a mission where the villain of the mission was like not just 100% white, but like illuminated. Like he looked like the moon does on a new moon night, like in this dark warehouse. And I'm like, what is happening? And then it would bounce back, and then it would come back, and just like these weird things here and there. A couple times I just webbed into a staircase and I couldn't get out because again, it's a technical marvel. Like the movement that you have in this game. Of course, there's going to be cracks in the here and there, but. Some decent amount of technical hitches, so kind of be aware of that. And yeah, I mean, other than that, like any complaints are going to be very nitpicky. Like, oh, the city's almost too big and you move too fast, so it seems not so dense at times. But it's like that's fine. I would rather have the feeling of speed and movement as opposed to density, like where you're walking around. And because Spider-Man sucks when he's inside. Like, get outside. You got to be outside. Anyway, I'll let you have some thoughts, Nick.
Just following up on your point about all the PlayStation games being the same, like that's just so reductive. It's like they're just third-person games with great, amazing stories. It's like that's most video games are third-person games. Like it's so dumb. They're all doing something different, and Spider-Man is doing its own thing.
Well, and one thing, sorry not to cut you off, that I feel like people need to think about when you have those kind of thoughts is that. Again, Sony is the best in the business. Do you want the best in the business to make smaller, weird, like almost indie type games? It's like maybe, those could be cool, but you got to remember all of this shit's an opportunity cost. If you put any of these teams on something that's not this high quality, thing that, by the way, Sony has built itself around having the resources and things available for these type of experiences and games, you're kind of not utilizing your resources effectively, I think. So, sorry, that's all I want to say.
Yeah, and so I lost my train of thought now.
Whoops.
Yeah, so it's just like the Spider-Man 2 is not God of War. It's not Last of Us 2. It's its own thing. Yes, it's built on an existing pop culture property, Spider-Man, and a lot of the gameplay elements are going to be stolen right from what the character can do, but it is different, and you see that in the sales. Not if they were all the same game, they'd all sell the same amount. They don't. Right. Spider-Man 2 is selling a fuck ton, selling faster than any other franchise right now.
Fastest selling Sony first party release ever, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. 2.5 million in like the first day. So. Yeah, so, and again, this game...
But as Phil Spencer says, it's not just great games. No. You can't just make great games.
Yeah, at the same time, they put out their numbers for the quarter, and guess what? Starfield really helped with all that.
Hey.
So, yeah, good games bring people and subscribers and all that. And, again, that's what Sony's been doing so well. That's why they're in the place that they are, is because, since the PlayStation 5 launch, they've had a steady stream of first-party exclusives and second-party and third party all year for the last 3 years, because we're coming up on the third anniversary of PlayStation, and this is just going back to the game, it's incredible. It's a 5 out of 5. It's
a 5. Yep. It's a 5. And and I mean just you really could tell that this is a team that just kept pushing the needle forward. Like on surface, I do kind of understand when people go, that's Spider-Man 2. It looks like the first one, but if you put those things side by side, it really doesn't. And then when you start to play it, and you get across like the first Spider-Man with the infamous Mary Jane missions, right, where you're like literally just walking through an apartment for 25 minutes. You're like, oh my god, can we end this? And like there is Mary Jane stuff in this game, but they did it in a way it makes it a lot more engaging. It's a lot more fun. You're not, I will admit, I was like, nah, I want to be Spider-Man still, but this is fine. And
MJ's capable this time.
She's capable.
She's not just a instant game over screen once you get caught. You know.
Yep, and then and stuff like the puzzles, right? I thought the puzzles in the first go around were fine, but they weren't engaging. They kind of got to the point, especially towards the end of the game, where you're like, I don't care. Like I don't care what the solution is. Just let me go. And you had to do it. and they were kind of, they're a little more time consuming. And these ones, first off, you could just skip it if you want, and it doesn't penalize you at all, which is great.
Right.
Like, again, my son, he's like, I don't want to do this puzzle. It's fine. 2, they're easy. Like they're in this one, it's dude, especially the ones where you're getting rid of the little particles on the molecules. Like,
Yeah.
okay, I'll hit undo if I fuck up, I guess. But they really, you could tell they wanted the player to have the most amount of fun, have the most amount of moments where they go, oh, and they killed it. They killed it, and makes me you just got to be fucking jonesing for Wolverine. Like, you're gonna be on suicide watch when that game is like getting through its preview cycle. But very excited to see what they're gonna cook up with that. We did get confirmation that it's in the same universe, but still has supposedly a more mature tone to it, because that is one thing I'm hoping, is that they don't handcuff themselves like a lot of superhero things typically do to cash in on the younger demographic. Like it's Wolverine. I need blood. Like, I'm not like a psycho here, I don't think. Like, I don't own any guns. I'm not that guy. But like, I got to be able to cut off a guy's arm.
Sure. And then going back to Spider-Man 2, I think that story was more mature. It is more violent than you're expecting, and so I think everything looks good as far as Wolverine clawing up people. Like,
Yeah.
but
Call some people I'm gonna call them bub. You think there's a bub button? I hope there's a bub button.
bub,
You just call everybody bub. Plus, it's bub button.
Yeah, and then we'll probably we'll do a spoiler cast. We'll get into kind of where we think the series will go from here, because it is definitely not over. So
I will admit, I'm pissed I bought the deluxe edition. My son hasn't touched those costumes. Hasn't looked at them. He's just, maybe he will once he unlocks everything. But he's just still.
Oh, there's just so many suits in the base game.
So many.
There's so many.
And sure, you could say it's not a cop out that a lot of them are just variants, but like they look different. Like they straight up look different. And when you're looking through the 62 different variations of suits anyway, a lot of them almost seem like color palette changes anyway. You go in there, you find the ones you like. Like, normally I don't care. I don't care what suit I'm rocking. But this one, I was like, there's so many choices that I'm like, I'm going with the. Which one do you remember? Which ones you used a lot? Like, I'm sure you switched around here and there.
Yeah, I remember one of the first ones for Miles.
This might be a little spoilery, so if you are sensitive to it.
Well, the first one for Miles was from the first game, or from Miles Morales, was the Prowler one. Mm-hmm. But now, again, with those color variants, you can change it to Miles's colors.
Yeah.
And I was like, that is just like perfect.
So
That's
good.
what he would look like, right? Like he's honoring Uncle Aaron and his, the story beats with him, but putting his spin on it. It's not the purple and green and silver that the normal suit is. So that was the very first suit I remember.
All right,
rocking.
I gotta ask you one question while I'm thinking about it. It's the very last Miles suit you get. So I won't say more. His hat or mask is stupid. his hair going through his mask is really dumb. I hated that suit. I'm sorry.
It's hit or miss. A lot of people.
Like, come on.
A lot of people are hit or miss on the story, the Miles suit, the one that he's. And we won't go into more details, but when you play through the story, he'll create his own suit again, and you'll get it. And mixed reactions. Yeah,
I like the suit, just not the mask.
Yeah, his mask has his hair exposed, so it's a little different. But he doesn't. I don't think he has any other suits like that one though.
With like the top part.
Yeah,
like
the top, his hair exposed.
No, that one's everything. And you get some weird ones that will keep spoiler free.
But no, and then one of my favorite ones I think is almost from it was from Spider-Man 1 too. It is for Peter is the metallic looking gold, red, and black. That suit always just
I like that one.
When I got to Symbiote Spider-Man, I was obviously all black Spider-Man going forward from there. But up until that point, I was rocking that one. Okay. And again.
Yeah, well, just remember, folks, this was not one of my most anticipated games, and
So it might show up on your
it might show
Game
up
of
on
the Year
game.
nominees.
Yeah, and I will still defend. That was more just to have, I think it's just more variance, and I also think Levi was just playing it nonstop. I'm like, dude, I can't think about Spider-Man right now. But 5 out of 5, go play it. Obviously, you got the remastered and the Miles Morales edition available on Extra. Check those out if you haven't.
Boy, that'd be a lot of Spider-Man if you were doing all three.
I mean, Colin Moriarty from Sacred Symbols, he always makes it a mission to like win he's kind of annoying in this way because he'll be like, oh, I feel like a poser if I haven't played every single thing leading up to something, right? So like he won't play. Let's say he never played Dragon Quest. He's like, I'm not going to play Dragon Quest 12 until I played 1 through 11. It's like, you're crazy. No. But he's like, I want to go replay through Spider-Man PS4, Miles Morales, City That Never Sleeps, which is the Spider-Man DLC, and then into Spider-Man 2. And he's like, oh, I'm so excited to do that. I'm going to be so ready for Spider-Man 2. And it's like, dude, I guess.
Right.
But even by the end of my playthrough, I was like, okay, I'm ready for something new. So
yeah.
But, to each their own.
Yeah.
To each their own.
They're not meant to be digested that fast.
No.
It took 5 years to get to this point.
No, but when it's your job, it's a world. It's a world that we hope to get into one day, Nick.
Yeah, right.
We'll
see. I just have to play video games all day. Sign me up.
Well, that's what we've been doing. So as you're about to talk about.
Yeah. So moving on.
This one I'm excited to hear about.
It didn't take me long because this game was reviewing so well, and that game is Alan Wake 2 from Remedy Entertainment. It was sitting at a 90. It's been between 89 and 90. It's at an 89 again currently, but it was at an 89.
Sweet and 80. Oh wait.
And then it bumped up to a 90 on Monday, and then now it's back to an 89 again on Open Critic. But again, this is the sequel to the original Alan Wake, which came out all the way back in 2010.
Sorry, I really don't mean to cut you off. The new Star Ocean game has an 85.
Yeah.
Crazy. Crazy.
There's a lot of good games out. Yeah. I just feel bad for a game like Star Ocean to have to somehow find an audience when there's so many games to play, Yeah. So
sorry, back to Alan Wake. Sorry, folks, for the limited interruption.
But so this game also takes place after the events of the last game, where Alan Wake and others have been missing for 13 years. So it's been basically, the same amount of time since Alan Wake has been around. And this game, it has quite the interesting opening. You start out playing a fully nude man.
Sweet.
You're wandering around the woods. You're confused. You don't know what's going on. And then you get...
Sounds like me over the weekend.
yeah. Pants around your ankles, you just like... And you get brutally murdered. Oh. That's where that ends.
Oh.
An occult-like ritualistic killing. And so from there, the game picks up as one of our protagonists, the Saga Anderson, which we've talked about before on this podcast, who's with an FBI agent with her partner, Sam Casey. They're investigating a string of murders in Bright Falls, the same location that the first game took place in, which is a small town in Washington State. And then later on in the game, you play as the Alan Wake, who is stuck in what they refer to as the dark place. This other world where he's trying to write his way out, because things that he writes in that world become true. So he's actively trying to write a narrative and where he escapes it. So that's kind of the premise for the game. The game is stylistically amazing.
Yeah.
It is.
I keep seeing, is this the best graphics ever? And I look at the screenshots and I go, yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah,
maybe Horizon Forbidden West, but...
A lot of games are feeling next gen right now. Spider-Man 2, Alan Wake 2, A Plague Tale, Requiem last year. It's just you just have to stop and you just absorb it all in. Again, you're in the woods and the light is filtering through the trees, and it's dusk, and it's just a beautiful array of colors and all that. And this game is told in a episodic nature, so it's kind of each chapter kind of ends on a cliffhanger, and then you kind of get a in-between song, which I'm going to tease for our end song today. And then you're back into the next chapter, and the same thing. It leads to kind of a natural cliffhanger. And then eventually you do get to a point where you can choose which way you want to go first. So if you want to continue Alan Wake's story, you can. So you continue his chapters, or you continue Saga's, and you can jump between those. So you can be halfway through Saga's and be I want to go see what Alan Wake's doing, and you can go right back to where he is and then go from there. So,
okay.
And like Control, this has a bunch of FMV stuff in it. There's a bunch of live action Alan Wake.
Remedy trademark.
Yeah, a lot of funny TV commercials. There's the video game Alan Wake, and then there's a lot of scenes with a live action Alan Wake, and a live action Sam Casey, who is played by Sam Lake, who's the creative director of this game. They look exactly the same. He looks like Max Payne.
He is Max.
Yeah,
like,
he is.
He doesn't
Max
just
Payne,
that
so.
they modeled him after him.
And as far as like the previous games, Alan Wake, Control, there are a lot of nods to all those things. Even Quantum Break, Sean Ashmore, the actor who was famously Iceman in the original X-Men movies, who was in Quantum Break, another Remedy game that was exclusive to Xbox. He's in this game as the sheriff. This game is very enhanced by playing Control. Just as far as I've been, there's been a lot of hints and nods to the federal Bureau.
The federal Bureau
of Control. Bureau of Control. I don't know why. My brain cannot wrap around that word. Bureau
Sorry,
of
I
Control.
can never say rural. Rural.
Yeah, rural is another one.
That's a dumb word.
But so if you haven't played those games, you're fine to play this game. But again, it is enhanced if you know what is going on from those games. And what's up?
Enhance.
Yeah, enhance. The gameplay itself, it is played like a Resident Evil 4, another third-person action game. Gosh, it's all there are out there is these third-person action games. And so it's a third-person shooter. The enemies are stunned by light. That was a mechanic in Alan Wake, so you can shine your flashlight on enemies. And some enemies you can't shoot at all until you do this, and some it makes them weak by doing so and exposes weak spots. The gameplay for this has been kind of okay.
No.
Shooting does not feel the best.
Okay.
And when they get on top of you, it is just a confusing nightmare. The first boss I had to fight, I was just like, he would just be on top of me all the time, and I'm just like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, there's a lot. Everything's like kind of like the Dark Souls games. Like, the reload. Like, if you get interrupted reloading, it's done. You have to get out of there and reload again. It's kind of like that, like particular about making sure you follow through with your swings and your reloading. So when enemies are on top of you and they can knock you on the ground, and then they have this mechanic where you're rolling around the ground trying to avoid their attacks, it can be a bit much, and it never feels the greatest. Like, I don't come out of like most combat encounters unless I have like a lot of the later weapons and I have a lot of ammo in them. Like, this is gonna go well.
Yeah.
And on top of that, there are also wolves in this. And fast-moving enemies, when the game doesn't play very well, is also...
Are they like evil wolves?
Yeah, they're evil wolves, and they scare the shit out of me because they run into the foreground. And again, this is a game about light. Everything's always dark.
Yeah.
So if you're not shining your flashlight in an area, you cannot see it. So you're shining your flashlight, and to the left of your flashlight, you'll just see eyes looking at you, and then they dart out and run at you. It freaks the shit out of me every time.
Good. That's the point.
Yeah, this game is very scary overall. A lot of quick images on the screen of like live action people like screaming and stuff like that, like just out of nowhere. And I've jumped so many times.
It's just trying to do everything it can to unsettle you. I mean, based on what you said about the very opening scene, like there's very few things that's unsettling to me as ritualistic sacrifice. So
yeah.
par for the course.
And then enemies are very meaty at this point. I don't know if like if I upgrade my weapons, but they take a lot of bullets to go down. Like it's like 8 to 10 handgun ammo, 2 shotgun blasts.
I always feel so bad in games like these. You're like, no, I could have done that better.
Yeah, and they don't. The most I've ever fought at once is like 3, so they're not at this point. They're not overwhelming you with any of that stuff. So
I think it was right before the game came out. They showed a video of some gameplay. It was like 9 minutes of footage where Saga was fighting some like upside down, like mirrored demon-looking thing. I swear she shot her in the face with a shotgun 6 times. Like, Jesus Christ, go like, and just not even covered in blood, just like red.
Right.
It's just a red thing.
Yeah, you do that to a lot of guys because when you hit those weak points on them, they explode and like they're just all their skin just goes. It just goes everywhere.
It farts.
Yeah, they're just and then they're just giant red meat. That's why the meat is just
the meat, meaty stuff.
Because you're seeing the insides of these people. So it can be very grotesque. It can be very frightening in that moment. But one of the cool things is in the dark place, the Alan Wake side, is you're able to manipulate the environment. So there will be like lampposts with light on them, and you can absorb the light into a wand. And that when the light exits that area, it becomes an entirely different area. And then you can walk up to like a staircase that's all beat up and taken down. you put the light there and it's perfect again, and you
That's
can
cool.
walk up.
Okay.
And it's
like a instantaneous regenerative thing.
Yeah, and it's all instant. And as I mentioned in the plot, Alan Wake is trying to write his way out. There are areas in the game where you're like, the story's not working here. Let me change it. And he bloop, and the whole area just changes completely. And it's an entirely different area. It opens up new things, and there's like different scenes you can play out in that section, and it changes everything. Like on a fly. Like it's not even like load screens or you're watching an animation take place. It's like boom. It's something new.
Is it kind of like in Control when like the ashtray maze where like the walls would kind of just keep shifting, or is it, it's just instant?
It just changes.
It's
just instant. Yeah.
Sorry, that just got me to think about the fast travel in Spider-Man, which I mentioned how awesome that is. But anyway,
yeah,
anyway,
it's very similar. Yeah, that's why these games feel so next gen. And then also the Mind Palace. So there is no like there's an inventory menu, but if you want to go into like where you are with the cases or collectibles, or you want to upgrade your weapons, it's in its own room in your head. You hit right on the touchpad and boom, you're right in there.
Cool.
Hit it again, boom, you're back out. You can keep hitting it, and your character's just going in and out, in and out, in and out of these two environments like instantaneously.
Sweet.
So it's cool to go into your Mind Palace, and then you look through like your little cork boards, and you like kind of figure out where to push the story forward, and then boom, right back in the game. And there's no loading; it just happens instantaneously.
Sweet.
Yeah, it's awesome. Like, and I know, John, you have a lot of games to play, but you're gonna have to add this one to your list.
Well, friend of the show Will texted me as well. I'm gonna read his text verbatim because it's like, oh, okay, I guess I'm doing that now. I feel like I'm playing my favorite game of a generation with Alan Wake 2. So, all right, he sent that to me, and in between your review of it, I mean, the fact that it's only $50 brand new because there's not physical editions,
60.
which is it 60? I thought it was 50.
It's
no,
60.
it's 50 on PC. That's what it is.
Yeah, that's 60.
Well, never mind. I was gonna. Yeah. It's stupid. It should be on physical. But yeah, I wasn't going to, honestly, dude. I was writing this one off as like it's probably great, but I just won't. Mm-hmm. And that's not the case anymore. So
no,
I'll get there eventually.
No, you should definitely do that. Obviously, I haven't finished it. I'm about, I think, maybe halfway through the game at this point. But yeah, you got it. It's something not like anything else you have played.
And that's why I look for those kind of experiences more than anything now. Crap, what was I going to say? It just went away. Stroke.
And you like horror games.
Yeah.
You like everything about this. You loved Resident Evil 4 this year. Like this is, I know obviously Resident Evil 4 reviewed higher, but at this point, obviously if it doesn't stick the landing, I think this is a better game than that by a long shot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is maybe not the most fairest comparison to a 2003 GameCube game being brought up to modern standards, but
yeah. I mean, dude, I'm watching the Alan Wake 1 narrative playthrough right now, so that if the moment strikes, that I can do it, and I won't feel bad because I played Control, and I'm sure I could read a synopsis, but from everything I've read too, it's just like there's a lot of little things that tie to the original ones. You're set in the same place. Like you're gonna miss shit unless if you're familiar with it. So it's good to know, man. I mean, just the we're seeing articles now pop up that say, "Oh, it's confirmed this is the best reviewed gaming year ever." And so I mean, it's just I was just talking about fucking Star Ocean's got an 85. I was like, what's happening? Like I want to play all you games, but we can't. Nobody can.
Well, what happened is COVID happened.
Yeah, okay.
Everyone doubled down on game development because it was what everyone could do during a pandemic, and and that also had an impact on game development where all these games weren't coming out when they were supposed to, and now that everyone's back to full pace, full speed, and kind of worked out their hybrid work environments, it's like, oh, let's release it. Let's out.
Isn't it? I don't know if it's sad or upsetting or what the word is, but isn't it weird that this year has really shown that like every single player narrative first every game that comes out that is like a single player thing is a banger, and everything seems to be going right for all these games. And then you look on the other side where the money is and what's getting chased, and that seems to be on a decline where it's just like none of these games are working. We don't know, but there's still all this money here, so we got to keep it's just so upsetting, right? That like I feel like we have this scale, and on one side of the scale you got the games as a service money, whatever you want to call it, and the other side is the single party or the first player stuff. And the scales are so tipped into the favor of the single player stuff, but like not what the corporations say, not what they think. You know, the consumer base and the money base are just so different.
Yep. Well, we
it
talked about
sucks.
it a few weeks
It
ago.
sucks.
You know, well, it's going to make so much money if it's a live service game. So it's.
But also, does it really suck because I just got done finishing saying I don't have enough time to play the games anymore. So, you know, first world problems.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, but you got to put this on your list. It is something special. Like again, the section last time I played it, I had to call Courtney up. I was like, you have to be watching what I'm doing right now. And Courtney doesn't play games very much, but you know, she understands things, and she's just like, what is going on? And I'm like, I don't know, but it's wonderful.
Yep. The other day when I asked you about it, I saw an article that said Alan Wake just released the best 15 minutes in gaming in years or something. I'm like, what? You know, especially knowing what I know about Control and how much everybody loved the ashtray maze. I'm like, well, Remedy's just got a penchant for having these really, really awesome fleshed out ideas and putting them into a game for a really cool segment. So, yeah, excited.
Yeah, they're a special studio to be just so. They seem to be on just such a synergy between like narrative, like art design, and the gameplay that like it's amazing that they're able to like this cohesive vision just game after game after game keeps coming out from them.
Well, they're efficient too, man. I mean, famously, Control only cost $20 million to make, dude. You got to be, you know, in the age of mergers and acquisitions that we live in right now, you got to be like everybody's got to be wanting them. Like they got to, besides FromSoft maybe. They got to be one of like the teams that are being courted by everybody because if you can get,
I know it'll be a sad day.
Yeah, I hope nobody. I hope nobody buys them. You know, and if it does, let them maintain their autonomy. I am having a day. You know, but they just seem like they seem like a really solid team with a really solid culture with a really solid studio head that's at the top of their game.
Yeah,
which is cool.
Yep. So stay tuned. I'll have more on it, but yeah, those are my initial impressions of the game so far. So
word.
All right. So moving on, as we just talked about, I was right to wait to talk about what our 6 Game of the Year nominees we think will be at the Game Awards. And again, this is not what we want to be at the Game Awards. This is what we think that all the outlets, the GameStops, the Giant Bombs, the IGNs, what they will send to Jeff Keighley to be the 6 Game of the Year nominees. And again, with the Game Awards coming December 7th, you know, these are going to be announced very soon. So
yeah.
So this is how we're going to do it. I'm going to kind of go through the games, and if one of these is one of your games, you can say so. But we're going to talk about every game that has a potential to be in the Game of the Year nominees.
Okay, cool. Because I wrote down my list, and then I wrote down others that are potential. So I'm wondering how many total games do you have listed?
I have quite a few.
Okay.
That have a chance.
Okay. All right. Well, I don't have that many, but
so the first thing I want to go through is what we've discussed previously on the show is what we think is a lock, the guarantee. Is there any chance that one of these games is not one of the 6? And I have 4 of them, and that's Super Mario Bros. Wonder, Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom, Spider-Man 2, and Baldur's Gate 3.
Those are locks, my friend.
Okay. Yep. All right. We're in agreement that those 4 titles alone will be in there. You know, obviously kudos to Nintendo for, you know, having 2 games.
Well, every year a Mario and a Zelda game come out in the same year. They both get nominated for Game of the Year. Yeah. You know, go figure.
All right. And then, so now the next direction I want to go into is indies.
Okay.
There is a indie Game of the Year. Last year it was Stray. And previous titles have been like, you know, Hades, a lot of Rocket League, a lot of our favorite games of all time have been those.
Undertale, Inside, Limbo, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yep. But is there a chance, because Stray last year was also nominated for Game of the Year, any of these indie games can do it? Dave the Diver, Sea of Stars, The Talos Principles 2, which does not have a review yet, Cocoon, or Humanity, and any other indie games you can think of. Do they even stand a chance in this jam-packed year?
Dude, any other year, they would have probably had almost maybe 2 of them on there. But Sea of, out of that list, Sea of Stars is the runaway favorite to be on the list. You know, sitting in at 89 with a very nostalgic feeling of it. You know, a lot of positivity about that game. But I don't think any of them make it this year, unfortunately.
No, they'll all get their Game of the Year noms, or any Game of the Year.
Yep.
But they will not get a Game of the Year noms,
Yep.
unfortunately. Yep. Not going to happen. All right. Next, we're going to go to Club 90s. So these are the other games in the 90s that we did not determine that are locks. There's only 2, and they're both from Capcom.
Yep.
It's Street Fighter 6
Yep.
and Resident Evil 4.
Yep.
Do any of these games have a chance to be one of the 6?
I think RE4 is the first out. I think that's the first game that would get cut from. In other words, it'd be number 7.
Oh, okay.
But no, I don't think either of those two get on. Like, again, if this was a different year, we might be having a different conversation. But I think of Forza Horizon 5.
Yep.
That was that was a 92 or 91.
I think it was one of the best reviewed games
Yeah.
of the year, if not the best reviewed game.
Yep. But did not get a nomination for Game of the Year because it's simply just too niche. And racing and fighting and maybe like puzzles. Or like 3, like there's that type of genre that you can have amazing, incredible games in that, but unless if you're like a Portal or fighting, I don't know if fighting and racing can do it because Street Fighter 6 and Forza Horizon 5 are probably the best examples of those respective genres in the past 10 years, and I don't think those will do it. So no.
Okay. All right. And then that leads us to the 80s, and Club 80s is jam-packed full of games.
Yeah.
This includes Alan Wake 2, Final Fantasy 16, Starfield, Hogwarts Legacy, Dead Space, Hi-Fi Rush, Pikmin 4, Diablo 4, Mortal Kombat 1, Star Wars Jedi Survivor, Armored Core 6, Fires of Rubicon. Woo!
Yeah, that's a year.
And probably other ones that I may have forgot, but that seems to be all the big ones.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did name the 2 other games that I have selected.
Okay.
Have you named every game that you
Yes.
think as well? Okay.
Yes. My 2 are in there.
Well, all right. Well, how do you?
Let's ask about Starfield. Let's go there first.
Okay.
Is Starfield one of them?
No.
So Xbox will be goose egged. I guess Hi-Fi Rush is Hi-Fi Rush the other one?
No.
Yeah, I don't think Hi-Fi Rush has a chance.
No. It's too small.
Yep, too small. Came
Too
out
early in the year.
Yep, all those things. But Starfield, the big release, the big Bethesda game, the big Bethesda RPG, 85 on OpenCritic. You just don't think it's going to make it?
I think the only chances this would have is if Todd Howard greased some palms, or if like literally there's just behind the scenes like conversation of like, no, we really want to have a representation from the big platform holders if we can. In the past couple of years, there hasn't even been anything close from Microsoft, and maybe this is being a year of like, okay, it's at least a game of provenance and whatever, we can squeeze it in. But I just think there's simply too many people that had problems with it. I would see reviews and sentiments about that game that are saying this is one of my my favorite games of all time, top 3 favorite Bethesda games. Mm-hmm. But in the same breath, IGN giving it a 7, GameSpot giving it a 7. Like these big outlets with big players who, hey, they have the votes for this stuff. They're the ones that are kind of saying like, I don't dislike it, but it's got some problems. And I think that's where this game will kind of inevitably sit in the history of time. Is just like, yeah, it was a good one, but it didn't hold true to the things that people really, really valued about Bethesda games, and I think it's going to suffer a little bit for that.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's one of the more polarizing titles, as you mentioned, and you mentioned Resident Evil 4 being the 7. I think this is the 7.
Yeah,
I think a lot of people. I think it was polarizing enough to where you either really, really liked it or you bounced off of it. And again, is when people are submitting these votes, I don't know if, somehow, a lot of the outlets that aren't IGN and GameSpot might put it on there.
Yeah.
But
there's also, an inherent fanboyism that does. I don't know if it is rampant in the space, to that level where they'll be like, well, I like Xbox, so I'm going to give them a vote. But being that, I don't think besides Psychonauts 2, which at the time wasn't even a first party game.
No,
I don't think Microsoft's had a Game of the Year nomination in over 10 years. So, I'm just saying there's a possibility that in and of itself could see it get a nomination, but we'll see.
Yeah.
But I don't think so. No.
but I wouldn't be surprised if it did make it for those same reasons. It's just it could be there, but I do not have it as mine, and I think that's the only other one I can really think of is Diablo 4 is a weird one that it was a big release. It did release in a big release month alongside Final Fantasy 16 and Street Fighter 6. Yep. Kind of, Baldur's Gate 3 kind of just killed all of its momentum, you know? It took all the air out of the room as far as talking about games of its ilk. Is Diablo 4 your game?
Nope.
Oh,
no, I think Diablo 4, again, is, it's another really good game that came out and just kind of, got devoured by everything else around it. I don't think Blizzard had a pretty good plan for end game content for it. A lot of people that devoured, like Diablo is a game that you don't just play, you devour it. You fucking go into it and you.
But unlike Spider-Man 2, it doesn't end.
Right, it doesn't end, but. And like these are games as a service, so they inevitably get worked on over time and get to a good place. But I'm wondering if Diablo 4 we're going to see a different type of life cycle compared to Diablo 3, which started off really poorly and found its way into success. But this one started out successful, but it seems like people just kind of found something else to occupy their time with, and it'll be hard to recapture those people. So, but I think I got an 88 this year. Really good game, but nope. Again, I don't think so. So it sounds like we have the same 6.
All right, okay. One for sure I know will be the one of them, and that is we both have Final Fantasy 16 on there. Yeah. Okay.
Yep. Final Fantasy 16. I think although it's not as highly reviewed as some other games this year, I think it's checks a lot of boxes that critics really like, right? Like high fidelity graphics, exceptional narrative, great voice acting, great
current gen experience,
some of the most visually spectacular boss fights I've ever seen. So I think that one will definitely get at least a nomination. I don't think it does not have a chance of winning, but I think the writers will give Final Fantasy the respect it deserves for this year.
Okay, all right, and then so the other best reviewed game in the 80s. At an 89 is Alan Wake 2. Is that what your other one is?
That's what I'm going with. Yeah, I mean,
just boondoggle here.
It's a boondoggle. Yeah, I mean, I haven't played it, but based on everything that everybody's talking about, it's every bit as good as Resident Evil 4 and Dead Space. And I think if you're giving your vote to one of those, which is what I think would fill up that 6th spot, it's going to be one of those horror games. I think you give it to Alan Wake because it's a new original idea. And it's top of mind. It's present, right? Like it's here now. People are talking about. People are thinking about it. So I think it gets it there. Again, current gen experience. And again, the reviews I've seen, I'm kind of noticing this weird trend where there's like almost seems to be a difference in opinion, like or just a wider gap between the lowest and highest reviews. Like this was another one of those games where it's like 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 6. What? 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 7. What? So I think it's while it's at an 89, I would almost even argue it's higher. It should be a little bit higher than that.
Right.
So yeah, I don't have any never played it. Don't have anything else to really say. But my balls are telling me Alan Wake 2.
Yeah. Same here. Again, yeah. As you mentioned, all the critics are just all over it. Majority of them are. So, and it's going to be fresh in people's mind. They're probably submitting for this, if not, soon. This week, next week.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
Because I will get those announcements really soon. And
I mean, they probably want everybody to wait to get through The Man Who Erased His Name, and
I have no idea what the cutoff is. I would imagine Modern Warfare 3
I remember when the year that Super Smash Bros. Ultimate came out, which it came out like December 7th. Mm-hmm. It was like right at the Game Awards. Like it missed it by like 2 weeks or something like that. Okay. So I think the cutoff is like mid
Thanksgiving, pretty much.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
Dude. Oh my God. Any other year, any of these 6 games wins Game of the Year. Against. Again, I've said it on the show before. It Takes Two, great game. Not beating any of those.
Not a chance. Yeah, I can't. This Game Awards will be something else entirely. Not even just if we extrapolate, not even from Game of the Year, but like the best performance, to all the other categories, it's just gonna be wild.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, some of these games that are even nominated for Game of the Year might not walk away with anything because another one of these games will just sneak in and steal. Alan Wake could steal Best Story, or another game will steal this or that, or it's just.
I hope Yuri Lowenthal outdoes Christopher Judge's acceptance speech.
But even will he even get nominated?
He'll get nominated. Yuri,
you think?
Yeah.
Over Miles or over every Baldur's Gate companion?
I can't speak to that, as somebody who just beat Spider-Man, Yuri was by far the best in that. I think Harry, the guy who did Harry, did a pretty good job, but no, the vocal changes needed for Venomized Peter and whatever, and his emotions were all over the place. I think he definitely gets. I would I don't know if I'd say he's the front runner because I don't have the Baldur's Gate knowledge that you do, but yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited again. December 7th, we'll have the full list of nominees, and then
maybe there's more than 6 games, right? Maybe
true,
Jeff's just like, dude, I can't, or he's like, all right, Todd, I'll take that money, but you're gonna be 7. So,
yeah,
I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, it's very possible for any of these categories to really balloon up because this year has been.
I will say there's one game, and I'm not saying it's likely. There's one game that you didn't say that has a chance.
Okay.
And that's Armored Core 6.
I did say it.
You said it. I know you said it. Okay. I think that
was my last game I said.
Okay. Well, there we go. All right. Anyway,
You think that even has a remote chance?
I have it. I think it has a. Dude, don't underestimate From Software fans. Do not underestimate them.
Yeah. Well, this is not.
I don't. Again, I don't think so. But if we're talking about Hogwarts Legacy, I'm talking about Armored Core 6.
Okay. Okay. All right. So let's move on to our final topic of the week, and of course, that is our character battle royale.
Going over some results?
Yeah.
Sweet.
Things didn't go well for me. Mario got trounced. I didn't think that was going to happen from Shovel Knight just trouncing him entirely. But
beat him to death with his shovel, man.
Yeah.
What are you doing? I'm burying you.
And then, Monokuma barely edging out Banjo and Kazooie, which is also shocking. I feel like I let down Nintendo fans and then I have to represent them again. But
well, just take solace in the fact that Monokuma wins that. And you like Monokuma, so just take solace in that.
Yeah. But
the better man moved on.
But I did not see the Mario trouncing coming. But There you go. So you have moving on.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, this week is very special. As longtime listeners of the show will know, 2B. And it's really funny because I don't really even like 2B that much. I like Nier Automata that much, but I love 2B. Right? I didn't say that. I love 2B. 2B is she's my girl, and so her going in the first round against Cloud Strife of all people is it's a little intimidating, and I think it's a great matchup. Because they are very, very similar people, but we'll see. We'll see who comes out on top, because I'm going to be sad if 2B goes out first round. But I got her, and then we got Hollow Knight versus Fox McCloud from Star Fox.
All right, which one do you want to do first?
2B and Cloud.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're going first.
All right.
He doesn't understand, again, 2B from Nier Automata. Just look up the character.
Hey, you keep saying that.
Safe search.
She's got a lot of popularity.
Yeah. A lot of popularity.
So does Cloud.
True.
So.
Yeah, this is going to be a very even match, and it depends, whose fans notice the poll first.
And I will say 2B fans are probably more internet trolly. So,
But then again, Final Fantasy is really hot right now. We're on a few months away from Rebirth. I think it was 100. Someone said 120 days or something like that.
Really?
So, yeah. So it's he's hot too. So 2B has had a lot of collaborations with other games, but it's been quite a minute since Nier Automata. So
yeah. Well, all right. Well, let's do this. All right. So let me get my timer. Face ID. All right. 2B, my girl 2B, otherwise known as Yorha Unit 2B. She is, I mean, I might just stay here and be quiet. But she's an amazing fighter. She is an android. She is not human. She has basically is the top tier fighter of the Yorha unit, which is a robot android organization that's kind of come down to Earth to save humanity because the robots have run wild. 2B has one of the most overpowered moves I've ever seen in any video games. Her dodge is ridiculous. If you just dodge at any moment around her getting hit, she's going to just phase through it. It doesn't matter. Cloud could be swiping left, right, and center, hitting her with everything he's got. She can just dodge right through it. She is a robot. Her reaction time, 0.5 billionth of a second, Nick. Cloud is a human. He's a superhuman. Sure, he's a soldier. He's got a reaction time of about 15 milliseconds. Cloud's got big swords. Only weakness is logic viruses. You can't logic virus her. Heads up display with a mini map. Okay.
You can tell he has so much to say about her. So much to say.
I can't say it now because that's cheating. All right.
All right, hang on.
I really should have done the timer, not the stopwatch. That was stupid.
Gotta get my music.
The timer hasn't started.
It doesn't matter. I gotta.
This counts.
It's turn-based, It's not until I swing. All right. Cloud Strife, former high-ranking member of Soldier, current member of the mercenary group Avalanche. He carries one of the most iconic weapons in all of video games, the Buster Sword. Not only does he have the Buster Sword, he has access to materia. Slow, haste, fire, healing, silence, transform, barrier, comet, so much more, including summons materia, Knights of the Round, Ramu, Hades, Phoenix. He's got all of this, and 2B is going to be overwhelmed by everything he can do. He can slow her down, take her down, and of course, I'm surprised John didn't go there, but I was sure he was going to talk about her looks and how she would be attractive to Cloud, but Cloud has had Jesse hitting on him, Tifa hitting on him, Aerith hitting on him, and he's so aloof and dumb that it gets over his head. He is not that fast to think about it, so that will be not a factor in this battle. Cloud will come out on top. There you go.
I had so many things I didn't say. I'm so mad at myself. I got distracted by my love for her. All right. Yeah, she got that power of seduction. All right.
Didn't work for Laura Croft, though.
It did not work for Laura Croft. Do you like going first or second more? I like going second more, I think. All right. Hollow Knight versus Fox McCloud. All right, so Hollow Knight versus Fox McCloud. I think it's important with this one to kind of look at Star Fox or Fox here first, right? There is no version of him that fights hand-to-hand combat except for Super Smash Brothers. That is the only way that we can look at him as a fighter. So he can do backflips, he can kick, he's got a pew-pew laser that doesn't even move the enemy, and he can deflect. So big fucking whoop. You got Hollow Knight. This is a guy, first off, he's a little bug, so good luck fucking finding him. He's got soul absorption. Every single time he hits his enemies, he absorbs powers that he can either use to attack that person right back with some crazy super move or just use it to heal himself up so that he can, basically not be, immortal, but good luck again hitting this little small guy who's able to heal himself. He can teleport. He has his different versions of charms, 45 different charms that he can equip to himself. So if he needs to increase his range, if he needs to have extra superpowers, if he needs to adhere to his... Damn it, I ran out of time again. All right, that's fine. That's fine. Star Fox ain't shit.
It's for your rule.
You need the minute. You need a timer on this, otherwise it gets crazy. I won't stop talking.
What, do you? And this is just a thought. I want to continue the format, but do you think it would have been better for characters we both knew?
Yeah.
To go ahead to have a back and forth.
Yeah.
But for characters we don't know, this does work better. There's a kind of a limit, so you can't just
That is true, yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. And maybe in hindsight for future things, we could do a thing where we almost have our own lists, where I have a John list and a Nick list or something, in the vein of this. And then that way, yeah, because I'm fuck, man, Banjo-Kazooie, I don't.
Right,
Good
exactly.
luck.
So maybe
Even this one was
like
hard. I don't
maybe
know
like
Star Fox
next
at all.
week after we whatever our results are for 2B versus Cloud Strife, two characters that we know very well, that maybe we can just talk it out. You know, and just
I mean, that could be. We could also give each other like 2. I don't know, veto cards, redo cards, where it's like if we come in and you're like, yeah, dude, Shovel Knight beat Mario, I can go, bam, and then or you could, and then re-challenge, the new challenger appears. I don't know.
We'll see. Maybe in the next round we may change things.
My hand.
All right, so
Star Fox.
All right,
get my timer.
Fox McCloud actually. So Fox McCloud, another character with Smash Brothers experience. I don't need to go into all that, but if you're not familiar with Fox McCloud, he's a graduate of the Cornerian Defense Army Academy and son of legendary pilot James McCloud. He does have access to blasters, jetpacks, and reflector shields. I don't know why you can just minimize those things. Those are pretty sweet. And you can't take out his primary way of fighting, and that is the R-Wing and the Landmaster, a giant plane and a giant tank that he pilots as part of his character identity, just like any other character. So he has access to both those amazing pieces of technology. So, he can just overwhelm Hollow Knight with those. And then, as you mentioned, finally, Hollow Knight is an insect. Yeah. Star Fox is a humanoid fox. He just steps on him. Over. That's it. That's all I got.
Okay. Man, it's so hard not responding. You're going to crush his exoskeleton. It's fine. Whatever. Per last week, Nicholas.
What?
This is a fight in an arena. How are you bringing in a plane into an arena?
He brings it into a Smash arena. You tell me.
That's fine. All right. Well, now for my favorite part, we get to find the next week's matchups.
Okay.
All right. For some reason, I still have Banjo and Kazooie in here. Let me get rid of you and 2B.
Okay. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Am I going first?
Yeah, you always get to choose.
I'll go second this time.
Okay.
Maybe this will...
Why do I still have so many of the old people? Sam Porter Bridges, go away. I must have had an old list. Okay. All right, Nick. This is for me.
All right.
Papa. I was like, who the fuck is that? Donatello from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Okay.
Versus?
A stretch for a video game character, but sure.
It was. Versus? Batman.
They've been in comics together.
They have, and we're having, I feel like, a good run of like similar fighters. Right?
Yeah.
2B, Cloud, Dante, Bayonetta. This is even Monokuma and Banjo-Kazooie is 2 little bears, It's weird. All right, so we got that one, and then for the second matchup for me, Richter Belmont.
Oh, there you go. There's a video game character.
Oh, he's from the animated. And for Nicholas, Cuphead. Cuphead versus Richter Belmont.
Sorry.
That's fine. That's fine.
Okay. Well, there you go. So, again, we'll have...
I should open my mouth. And then the most opposite fucking characters you could have. But that's okay. That's what's fun.
So, again, after the episode airs, we'll post this to Twitter. We'll have less time to vote this time on this week's battles, but...
As long as I don't, get unconscious again.
Yeah. Try not to get unconscious again.
Yeah.
All right. So that's it. That's our 4 things, John. What do you got? What do you got to tease? You're gonna go Platinum Spider-Man 2?
Yeah, I'm definitely platinuming Spider-Man 2 tonight. I have been sinking my teeth into Dave the Diver on Switch, which is fantastic. So I'll have some thoughts about that. But no, it's God, it feels so good to just get a game, like just get it out of the way. And it's like there's part of me playing through Spider-Man that I was just like, this feels in a way bad because like it's one of the games that I know I'm gonna love this year, and it's just poof gone. Like it's just I did it. So but I think I think I'm going back to Cyberpunk because that's I'm actively in that one, and hope that carries me into a time of the year where maybe I can get one more full game in before end of the year type of things. Whether that's Alan Wake 2, whether that's I finally decide to beat Tears of the Kingdom, I don't know. But
yeah, you got.
Are we going back to Cyberpunk?
Game of the year for us is approaching. This is your cleanup.
Yeah, I know. Game of the year is going to be weird this year for me.
For me, just more Alan Wake 2, Gotham Knights, Baldur's Gate 3, those kind of the 3 that I plan on trying to get done before the end of the year, and maybe something else will sneak in there, maybe a Dave the Diver or another title will slip in there, but those are my focuses right now.
If it comes to PlayStation.
But also on top of that, BlizzCon is this weekend, John.
Oh.
Yeah, do you expect anything interesting outside of your typical expansions to Hearthstone, World of Warcraft, and Diablo 4?
Diablo Immortals 2. The sequel to the phone game. No, Overwatch 2. I mean, I feel like that's been really silent.
Right. Well, yeah, but it could be it's going to be more of the same.
I know.
Another character, another more of their PvE content.
No, I mean, it's an event when Blizzard releases a game, and they released a game this year.
Right.
So I don't. You'll have an expansion, but they're not gonna say
no hope of a StarCraft.
Maybe. I mean, StarCraft 2 was what, 2012?
Yeah.
So it's definitely time.
I imagine we're going to hear a lot of collaborations as far as skin crossovers between Xbox and
2010. Jesus Christ.
Xbox and Blizzard titles now that Xbox owns Blizzard. That you'll probably see a lot of, Master Chief and Overwatch and vice versa. Just the kind of cross pollination of skins and content and.
Is there any property? This is probably a better question to think about, but is there any property you can think of that Microsoft has that would be awesome if they threw at Blizzard and be like, here, figure it out?
Not off the top of my head.
Yeah, no, that might be. There's got to be something.
They're touching so many of them already. Again, their Perfect Dark was kind of in Fable.
Also, what are Microsoft properties? Not being
Halo,
shady.
Gears.
It's Halo and Gears. That's. The properties. So.
Right. I don't know. I don't know if they're going to be as ballsy to say StarCraft 3 is coming, but
Halo Wars. They do a Halo War. Blizzard presents Halo Wars. I don't know.
They might as well just go with StarCraft 3 at that point.
Yeah.
But I don't think there'll be anything newsworthy. But if there is, we will certainly talk about it next week, and then it'll be kind of just again. In the Game Awards and then our Game of the Year. That's kind of the pace we're at. So it'll be a lot of topics. If you got a question, perfect timing. Write in and we'll happily answer it. If you have any interest about anything, we'll talk about it. It doesn't have to be about games.
Just talk to us. Yes, we will. As Jesse can attest to, Mark, I still hope you're out there. I haven't heard from you in a bit, bud. And if you're still listening, write in, say what up.
I'm still listening.
But yeah, I mean, we shout out the people that talk to us, and so if you're one of those people that thinks that, if somebody just said my name's over the AM radio or something, and that gets you hot and bothered, we're your guys.
Yeah. All right, so let's go to the song again. It is from Alan Wake 2. It is one of the interlude songs between chapters. It is "Follow You Into the Dark" by Raquel.
Raquel.
Yes. All right, so that's it. We'll be back next week with Up to 6 Things. Bye, guys.
Happy Dia de los Muertos.
Bye-bye.